This set was added to the game with Update 19 Wolf Hunter, which launched in August of 2018. The biggest changes to come with this update were to werewolves and the nerfing of snaring and defiling effects. Moon Hunter can be obtained by running the 4-man dungeon Moon Hunter Keep, which requires the Wolf Hunter DLC, as this set is bind on pickup and cannot be acquired from other players. The style of this set is Silver Dawn, which will be obtainable in Update 20 when its motifs are added to the drop pool of the Moon Hunter Keep final boss on veteran difficulty. Since this is a dungeon set, you can get weapons, shields, armor, and jewelry, but the armor will always come in light. The traits on this armor are random, so you may need to farm several times in order to get the ones you need, but the jewelry for this set comes with the arcane trait. Keep in mind that you can use transmutation to change traits if you wish, but you will need the Somerset expansion if you wish to transmute jewelry. Moon Hunter increases your spell damage by 600 for 6 seconds each time your alchemical poison fires. Since poisons have a cooldown of 10 seconds, this means the most you can have this active is 60% of the time, and it is likely even less due to the fact that once it comes off cooldown, you still only have a 20% chance to proc it. There's not a way to extend the duration of this set, and it's not affected by Jorvald's guidance. Poisons were added to Elder Scrolls Online back with Update 4 Dark Brotherhood in May of 2016. Poisons allow the player to override their weapon enchantments in favor of other effects such as Defile, Fracture, or even just plain damage. Poisons can be crafted at an alchemy station, acquired from another player, or even purchased from the Crown Store. There are a wide variety of combinations available, so picking the one you want can sometimes be challenging. Once obtained, you will need to slot the poison in your inventory, and you can have up to 2 poisons equipped, 1 on each bar. When poisons are slotted, your weapon enchantment ceases to function, and you will apply your poison in its place 20% of the time when striking with light attacks, heavy attacks, or any weapon-based skill that deals damage. Poisons can only be applied once every 10 seconds, which is 4 seconds less often than weapon enchantments. It is important to note that even though you may have 2 poisons slotted, 1 on each bar, you can only have 1 applied every 10 seconds. This means swapping weapons and attacking will not trigger your second poison if the other is already applied or is still on cooldown. For this reason, it is recommended that you have a poison on one bar and a weapon enchantment on the other. Poisons can have up to 3 different effects on them, but it's important to note that the more effects you add, the shorter they are applied to the target. Some poisons only last 3 or 4 seconds, meaning that you have 6 or 7 seconds before you can apply the effects again. Keep this in mind when crafting your poisons because more is not always better. One also very important thing to note is that poisons are affected to some degree by champion points, so be sure to keep this in mind when selecting your poisons as well. How this set works is, anytime you strike an enemy or player with a light attack, heavy attack, or any weapon-based ability that deals damage, you have a 20% chance to apply your poison for the listed duration. For all intents and purposes, weapon-based abilities here means destruction staff abilities, since this is a light armor set and you will almost certainly be using a Destro staff. You can only apply a poison every 10 seconds as mentioned above, so this set has essentially a 4-second cooldown. The Moon Hunter buff will last 6 seconds, and it doesn't matter if you swap and break the set, the buff will still remain. This makes it a solid choice for a back or front bar where you can buff and then swap and proc your weapon damage enchantment. Keep in mind that the spell damage is affected by minor and major sorcery, making it possible to reach a total of 750 spell damage with this set. You can tell when you have the Moon Hunter buff because your arms will glow blue. This is particularly useful for knowing when you have increased damage and to use your ultimate or burst damage skills. Most damaging buffs only glow orangish red, making it hard to tell which is which. The blue of the Moon Hunter helps alleviate that. Because most DPS in Dungeons & Trials traditionally use a weapon damage enchantment and some sort of direct damage enchantment, you're not only comparing the 5-piece bonus of 600 spell damage versus other sets, but you're also comparing how a poison measures up versus that direct damage enchantment, since you must use a poison. To give you an idea, Moon Hunter gives you slightly more spell damage than Burning Spellweave, but has a lower uptime, 50 or 60%, versus about 60%. This means as long as you are using a poison, you could swap these pretty effectively, with Moon Hunter having slightly higher burst damage, and Spellweave having better sustained DPS. Comparing enchantments to poisons, you will see there are pluses and minuses in a PvE environment. On a fiery weapon enchantment, you gain 2,736 flame damage every 6 seconds. This is approximately 456 DPS. If you use the damage health poison, you gain roughly 1,079 DPS. If you use an infused staff, you will reach 1,186 DPS, since the enchantment will trigger twice as often and be 30% stronger. One thing to factor in as well is that you only have a 20% chance to trigger your poison, so you won't reach that 1,079 number consistently, unless you are constantly AoEing targets with Wall of Elements. What we can take away from this is that if you're not using an infused weapon, poisons can perform better than fiery weapon enchantments. However, if you are using an infused weapon, you should probably consider taking another set. Notes for PvP players. This is an excellent PvP set because of the fact that poisons are primarily used in PvP, and Moon Hunter gives a ton of spell damage for doing so anyway. Because you can bar swap this set, it has a wider range of potential as you can set up your target with your poison of choice, and then swap to your front bar, or you can buff with an infused back bar, and then swap to your front bar and unload. With the right combination, you can reach 6,000 spell damage with this set, which is just frankly insane. This gives you a lot of burst potential, which is exactly what you need in PvP. You need to kill quickly and move on to the next target, and this set helps you do just that. Final tips: be sure to become familiar with poisons and what types you can make so that you always have the right ones you want. There are many different types, so be sure to select the ones that best fit your style of play. Perhaps you want more healing or recovery, or you don't want the enemy to be able to move. Most poisons are meant for PvP, but you can use damaging ones in PvE to pretty good results. As mentioned above, when using this set, be sure to have only one poison slotted so that you gain the benefit of the weapon enchantment of your other bar. You cannot trigger 2 poisons at once on the target, so it is unnecessary, and weapon damage enchants are very good to keep up as often as you can. Figure out a rotation that keeps up both as much as possible. Remember to always keep up major and minor sorcery if you can, because this will increase the amount of spell damage you get from 600 to 750, which is significant. And because the set has no max magicka, consider picking up a set that does for your second one. If you're PvPing, Shacklebreaker is a great choice, but if you're PvEing, you'll probably want to go with either Sororia or Julianus. Stay tuned as I'll be covering the rest of the Wolf Hunter sets, and be sure to check out our other SO guides.